My husband's car doesn't work and he needs money to get it fixed. He doesn't have enough money. I'm in medicine school and have been getting ready for my exams for a month now. Every month he and his friends go on a road trip. His car's been sitting in the garage for 3 months now. He asked if he could take my car to take the guys on a road trip since it was his turn to take them. I told him I need the car since I have a weak immune system and public transportation might be risky. And I can't afford to get sick in the middle of my exams. He begged, saying his friends are gonna stay here in the trip, and our discussion got nowhere. The trip was last week. I had an exam the day of the trip and left at 8 a.m. I had several things to do. I stopped by the coffee shop to use the internet. I arrived at the university at 8:30 and entered the hall getting ready for my exam. After I finished, I spent few minutes with my friends, then I left. I got to the parking lot and my car wasn't there. I started freaking out, thinking I might have left the door open or something. I called my husband, but he didn't pick up. My friends immediately told me to call the police. I ended up waiting for them to ask me about what happened. The officer said I needed to come to the station to give my statement. I stayed there for 4 hours, then I was told my car was found. My husband was driving it and was picked up an hour away from where we live. I was shocked and mad. It never occurred to me that he was the one who took it. I went home and waited till he got back. He was upset and didn't want to talk about what he did. The argument started after he said he made a copy of the key and didn't take till he made sure I arrived for my exam. I yelled at him and told him it was not okay. He caused me to stress out and worry about the car. He told me calling the police was drastic and shouldn't have gotten them involved, but I had no idea he took the car. He said he wanted to text me but forgot. Said the trip was ruined and he was embarrassed by being picked up by the police while he was with friends. He still thinks calling the police was over the top reaction, but what was I supposed to do? Not the idiot. If your husband doesn't understand just how wrong each step of what he did is, you need to seriously consider whether or not this is someone you want to spend your life attached to. He lied multiple times, he ignored your wishes, he ignored your genuine needs, he stole from you, he deliberately planned and executed everything when you were in no position to find out for several hours, and, rather than actually face up and acknowledge each of these things, he's complaining that he's embarrassed by your fully understandable response to events. He's a massive idiot. This was 100% premeditated on his part. He made a copy of your key after you'd explicitly told him your car was unavailable to him, and his friends on their road trip stole your car while he knew you were too busy to notice right away and neglected to let you know. He was never going to send that text, OP. Your husband is now gaslighting you, trying to somehow make this your fault. You didn't embarrass your husband, he absolutely did this to himself. You did what any sensible person would do when you discovered your car was gone. The only thing over the top here is his premeditated and thoroughly planned attempt to steal your car. He was wrong. He sounds like a child who didn't get what they want, so instead they snuck around their parents to get it instead. Of course, you would have called the police. He's an idiot for not thinking so. Hell, if he'd been in your position he would have done the same thing. He's only pissed that he got caught. And from how he handled all this, he definitely cares more about his friends' opinions than the woman he's married to. My girlfriend's brother owns a small cafe and bakery. It's a relatively new place, but I recommend it to everyone who wants a place to go. Everything there is good quality and it's very cute. It's worth mentioning that my girlfriend and her brother are very close, and my mom knows this. This past weekend, my mom was in town and decided to visit the cafe with a few of her friends. In the middle of the afternoon while my girlfriend is at work, I get a very distressed, angry phone call from my mom, demanding to speak to my girlfriend. I'm very confused and I could tell that she was crying, so I tried to calm her down a little before I tried to piece together what happened. Once she's ready, she starts ranting about how terrible the cafe was. She claims that the staff treated her terribly and how my girlfriend's brother embarrassed her in front of her friends. I ask her to elaborate and she explains that she didn't bring any money to pay because she thought it would be free because she is a friend of the owner. Because she didn't have any money, she was forced to ask one of her friends to pay the bill. To be fair, I found this all a little funny and absurd, so I laughed. Looking back on it, I probably shouldn't have done this as this really aggravated her. she got mad and proceeded to call my girlfriend a terrible person who was never going to be a part of the family. I got mad, telling my mum that it's not my fault that she's broke. After that, she hung up. I thought it was fine, but then I found out that my mum left a pretty bad review on the cafe's website, harassed the cafe, and left my girlfriend a string of badly written text messages. I feel bad because I don't want my girlfriend or her brother to suffer because of my actions. Not the idiot who would show up to a cafe and expect that they're entitled to free food because they have a connection to the owner without even speaking to someone beforehand. Wouldn't, if anything, you want to support the new small business of a family friend? Well, you maybe should have not laughed. Your mother is undoubtedly the idiot. That said, you should do your best to communicate with her and try to undo the damage she's trying to cause to your relationship and to the business. I suggest you tell your mom to take the false review down, or you will write a response explaining the exact situation as you did here, noting she is not even related to the owner, never been told she would get free food, and went into the establishment demanding and rude, assuming because she is the owner's sister's boyfriend's mom, she felt she could show off and demand food for free from a small business and was upset when she found out otherwise. If she wants to sabotage a business publicity, then she can have the story set straight publicly. No one is entitled to free items at a place of business, no matter who you are. You certainly don't walk into a place cold and just demand it. Especially if she made a scene about it, your mother deserved to be embarrassed in public about her actions. I don't think your girlfriend or her brother suffered because you called your mother broke, however it didn't help. If I were them, if this continues, I would seek a legal solution, and you should probably help them, family be damned. Making a scene in a cafe is one thing, harassing someone over text messages is something else. So, I am 31 on vacation in Disney World for the 50th anniversary celebration. I, a childless millennial, by choice, the hated group of many mothers in Magic Kingdom, took my spot in front, right behind the tape for the cavalcade, mini parade. As the cavalcade was about to pass, cast members directed people who were on the wrong side of the path and told everyone to cross to my side and stand behind the tape. Among the people to cross were 3 adults and 1 child in a stroller, maybe 4, and the child's grandparents. The mother forced herself in front of me, and the entire stroller was over the line. It took about 30 seconds for a cast member to tell her she had to move behind the tape. She then turned around and told me I had to back up so she could fit. I told her no, she could find another place to stand, as not only was I here first, but she was on the wrong side entirely. She of course then went into her rant about how her son wouldn't be able to see, and I didn't need to be up front. For the record, I am barely 5 feet. So yeah, if I moved, I wouldn't be able to see either. I told her it was not my responsibility to make sure her kid could see, and I was keeping my spot. She tried to get the cast member involved, and he told her she had to move and get behind the line somewhere else. Admittedly, her child definitely couldn't see much where she moved to, but he was also obviously uninterested. The mother then climbed up on a bench so she could see and to take pictures. Clearly she was the one who wanted to be able to watch. Here is where I might be the idiot. After the cavalcade, I was walking into Frontierland. Her family were behind me making rude comments about how I was entitled and a scumbag, etc. She then loudly stormed past me and said to her child in a loud voice, "Sorry you couldn't see the parade, some people don't care about children." I mean, she is right there, but I just as loudly responded, "Yeah, shame to be you, should have got there earlier, I had a great view. Got some nice pictures." So, am I the idiot? I definitely didn't need to make the comment I did, and I do feel bad for the kid, mostly because he has that for a mother. But I also feel like I shouldn't be inconvenienced by her not initially following directions. Not the idiot. I can't imagine any situation in which I'm going to expect anyone to move out of my way just because I have kids if they were there first. My bad for not getting them where I need to be on time, I just adjust. The only time I'm going to be an idiot is if I'm already there and anyone shoves in front of my kids, which happens way more than I thought it would. And yes, as someone who used to live in Southern California, I very often saw parents of all generations treating childless adults like crap at Disneyland. I feel your pain. Husband and I went to Disney in 2016 for Christmas. Next to last day we had lunch, and then I parked myself on the curb of Main Street. I was next to a trash can for more than an hour waiting. Parade time and some kids and their mom tried to stand in front of me. One of the cast members told them they needed to get off the street. Of course I was sitting on the curb, they of course looked at me but moved on. As a side note, I often see dad or grandpa putting the young child on their shoulders so the kid can see, no reason to block your viewing. Are you me? I had an almost identical experience there years ago when I was a teenager. I waited forever for the electric light parade. Right before it started, a family came up and tried to tell me I had to move back so they could get there and their kid, about 5 or so, could see. I told them I'd let the kiddo get in front of me, and I did, but that they could stand behind me, that I had waited for my spot and wasn't going to not have it because they were off enjoying other attractions while I waited and waited and waited. They were huffy because the kid was just the excuse, but once I let the kiddo in front, they couldn't really argue that I wasn't being accommodating. My roommate and I work about 10 minutes away from each other. I need to be at work for 7:30 and she needs to be at work at 8. She asked if I would mind giving her a ride to work since we're so close to each other and she doesn't mind being early and would be leaving at the same time anyway if she was going to take the bus. I said that I don't mind giving her a ride in the morning and that I need to leave at 6:50. Even though it only takes 20 minutes for me to get to work, factoring in the time it takes to drop her off and the time I need to actually set up my daycare before the doors open at 7:30, 6:50 is the latest I can afford to be leaving. She said this was fine. The earliest she is ever ready to go is 7. This is pushing it really tight for me. Yes, I'll be at work for 7:30, but then I don't have any time to get anything set up before the kids arrive. Most mornings we get going at like 7:05. This has been going on every morning for weeks and I've had enough. I tell her every evening that we need to leave at 6:50 and she always says that's fine and she'll be ready. And then the next morning she'll be coming downstairs at 6:50, asking if there's time for her to have breakfast, and then she'll guilt me for saying no, saying if she doesn't eat then she won't get to eat until her lunch break at 2. I've basically told her that I'm leaving at 6:50 and if she's not ready she can take the bus. She's told me that this is completely unreasonable since we work so close together and there's no point in making her spend unnecessary time on public transit. Am I being unreasonable? Your roommate needs to understand that you providing a ride is a privilege, not a right. Favors are done at your convenience. You got the right approach, tell your roommate you leave at 6:50 am, with or without her. I have been in a similar situation. I would tell my roommate what time I was leaving and I would go and start my car a few minutes beforehand, warm it up, and then leave 1 minute late. I factored that into my timing. If he was on time, fine. If not, too bad, so sad. By not being in the house, he could not ask, cajole or guilt trip me into waiting for him. Not the idiot. Your roommate needs to understand lack of planning on her part does not constitute inconvenience or running late on your part. Apparently, it's their planet and you just live on it. Humans like this will only drag you down. We teach people how to treat us. You're extremely generous with your resources. On my best day I might have agreed to giving them a ride for 1 day only. If your roommate appreciated your generosity, they would accommodate your totally justified and reasonable stipulations at all costs and bend over backwards thanking you for being so kind. You've been extremely clear about your expectations. Tomorrow leave at 6:50 am with a clear conscience. My father used to drive us to school and go to work after. We absolutely have to leave at 7:30 so he can be at his work at 8 o'clock. We were late a couple of times and he let it go. The third time, he just left to work. We had to wait till my mom was leaving so she could take us to school. We were late by about 20 min and got punished for it at school. We were furious with my dad and didn't talk to him for a couple of days, but guess what, we were never late after that. My younger sister is getting married next year, but she's already planned everything she wants, she just needs to arrange everything now. We were having dinner with the extended family when she pulled all of the women to another room to show us what her wedding was going to be like. It was almost a literal copy of our cousin's wedding and obviously going to be expensive. My cousin's wedding cost 7 figures to put things into perspective, and the only reason she could afford it was because her in-laws and husband paid for everything. My sister was excited while she was showing us everything, but it was obvious she hadn't considered how much it was all going to cost or how she would fund it. One of my aunts asked her multiple times how much certain things would cost, but she could only answer it for one thing, an expensive tiara that she wanted. When she told us that she wanted her groom to fly to the venue in a helicopter, I finally decided to directly ask her how she planned to pay for everything. She got red in the face and said that our grandparents and parents said they would help, they definitely can't afford this wedding, and that she would start a crowdfund for the rest. I was blunt and said I didn't think her plans were realistic and she should probably focus on the essentials before she started getting excited over helicopters. My sister called a jealous female dog and left the room. I do feel awful because my sister is refusing to speak to me now, and my aunt, her daughter had the expensive wedding, told me I should have just let her realize it wasn't realistic on her own, and that everyone thinks that they want that type of wedding until they try to make it a reality. I remember her daughter had multiple panic attacks from the pressure of planning her wedding. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You were just being real with your sister about the facts of life here. She'll simply have to learn the hard way. Many of these things she wants will require payment or a deposit beforehand. And just because she wants something doesn't mean that thing will materialize just because she wants it. I think she'll be sorely disappointed by what crowdfunding brings in too. Has she always been so entitled? Her reaction to your reasonable concern was just ridiculous. When she comes to you later with her hand held out for money to be able to afford this crazy wedding, just give her your most serious look and say, why would a jealous female dog want to help you with that? And walk away like you're royalty. As an older sister, I totally agree with you giving her a wake-up call. Wedding can be a financial issue in the long run too. Even though you guys figure out a way to accommodate everything she asked for the wedding, your parents and everyone who funded for the wedding is going to struggle with financial debt afterwards. She should make a budget plan of how much she has to afford this wedding, or else she is going to get so sad for not getting what she expected. Maybe give her some time. If she really loves you, she'll call back, then talk to her about your intentions were not to hurt her, but to help her. Sure, you could have let her have her little fantasy moment and find out for herself that her dream wedding wasn't going to be attainable, but why not just tell her the truth at the outset? This whole idea of letting people fantasize, especially in a situation where she's actually in wedding planning stages, is so stupid. Good for you for being the voice of reason, but unfortunately you're probably going to be cast as the idiot to her for keeps because you pissed on her fairy princess bride fantasyland.